Hi there guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the What Comes to Mind series. Today is episode 23 and as you can tell, something's changed. Don't know what, something's changed. Now today's topic is on precision medicine. I want to address the elephant in the room or the park, which is my hair. Now I did have a haircut about a few days ago. It is super short and it's probably a bit new to you for those of you who don't know me, but I hope it serves as a purpose for you to watch how long it takes for my hair to grow, as well as how long it takes for the channel to develop, and as many videos as I make will hopefully see my hair increase. So maybe something else to stay tuned to, as well as the informative videos I hope to share. But back to the topic in hand, which is precision medicine. What actually is it? Precision medicine is actually a form of treatment approach, a form of medicine that is uniquely tailored towards that patient. It is tailor fit to what that individual patient actually requires. Now, how it's different to other forms of classical medicine is that large lumps of information is generated from the patient, so their genetic information, full in-depth medical history, more tests than what would normally be done to try and provide a more optimized targeted treatment to try and reduce the burden that that patient may have. So that's kind of what is the umbrella term for precision medicine. Now naturally, sometimes when we try to understand something, it's better to understand what it isn't. Now precision medicine is not like classical medicine, because classical medicine is this concept of one drug fits all approach. So let's say somebody has a form of asthma. Initially, if it was just pure classical medicine, it would be, okay, what symptoms are you exhibiting, brief medical history, and here's a generic drug that we give to all types of asthma, not taking into account the specific subtype of asthma you have, your unique characteristic as an individual, and a generic drug is maybe given. Same for high blood pressure. Normally a bog standard generic drug is given to try and combat the symptoms of that particular disease. Now what generally happens when you see a purely classical form of medicine or treatment approach, generally one of three things. When you give that generic treatment to that patient, irrespective of trying to customize it right at the start, irrespective of gathering more information, three things generally happen. That is, there is some positive effect to reduce that disease or the symptoms of the disease. There is no effect at all, so nothing changes, or there is some adverse or side effects from that particular type of treatment. Now it is when the third thing happens where the treatment starts to optimize or develop or actually change, and that's what I want to focus on now. In between these takes I keep doing this, realizing where's my actual hair. But anyway, back to what I was talking about. When we get those side effects, what generally actually happens is the doctor or the pharmacist or any healthcare professional would look at, okay, what's a different drug we could give to try and reduce the symptoms but minimize the side effects that we see. And that trial and error continues to occur until there is some agreement on the treatment versus the side effects. And that's what we generally see in most forms of medical approaches and treatment approaches, is try a drug, see if it works. If it doesn't, try another one, test, try another one, test, try another one, test. So through that, you're actually optimizing the treatment, but as a consequence to the patient gets more ill, you try something else, gets more ill, you try something more optimized, more specialized, something that's actually potentially more expensive. And whilst you're doing that, you're actually conducting more tests, more optimized tests, because the initial bog standard tests weren't showing enough about that patient to understand what they may or may not respond to, or what they actually respond to better. However, in recent years, we've actually started to see a mix between the classical one-size-fits-all approach to actual precision medicine. And it's actually known as stratified medicine, where there's kind of like a flux or a blend between the actual two. I want to describe that in the actual setting so it makes a bit more sense. Let's take asthma for example. Now if you were to do a one-size-fits-all approach, generally it would be some form of inhalers, and if it gets really worse to the form of severe asthma, you would start to see some form of actual oral corticosteroids, general steroids to suppress the immune system. Now what we now see in modern day time, whether in UK, US or wherever in the world, asthma has many different subtypes. And some of these asthmas are very, very different to each other, and by virtue they require a different type of treatment. So this elm of precision medicine actually starts to come into play right here. And what we start to see is that more specialized tests are actually being done to figure out what optimized treatment is required for this type of asthma patient compared to that type of asthma patient. Now, if it was purely classical medicine, it would just be the same drug, make sure you get ill. If it doesn't work, okay, try another one. But now people and many healthcare actual systems and structures are starting to incorporate elements of precision medicine into their practice to try and minimize side effects, increase the time where they can form a correct diagnosis and correct treatment, by virtue looking at the current treatments we have compared to about 50 years ago. And what I mean by that, nowadays we have much more of an arsenal of specialized medications, specialized drugs, specialized therapies. And we need some form of system to make sure we are giving it to the right patient. And that's where this notion of precision medicine comes, whereby you gather large amounts of information. You really study the individual patient, not just what basic symptoms they may have. You look at their genetic history, their medical history, what proteins are being secreted, what are their electrolytes or enzymes in different forms of testing, urine, stool samples, plasma samples, and you form a really complex set of profile about what that unique patient is. And from that, you then start to give optimized treatments. So the question is, why is this not common practice? Why don't everybody get this type of treatment, this type of analysis, so then they don't have to keep going back to the GP or the hospital to try and get optimized treatment? There are many reasons, but one is cost, unfortunately. Think about it this way. It's a lot cheaper to give a generic drug that might solve the problem straight away than going into a full depth analysis of the patient. Now, we see that in private healthcare, but what I'm focusing on for this episode is on public healthcare and public healthcare systems. Now, related to cost and why we don't see precision medicine in every walk of healthcare medicine, is that right now, and rightly so, there needs to be a justification as to why you are conducting more tests. There needs to be a justification as to why you are giving a more expensive form of treatment. And it's an understandable model, because you need to justify the cost to do something that's more expensive, that's more time consuming and stuff like that. Now, another factor that limits the large scale capacity of precision medicine is actual capacity itself. It's having the amount of people to run all of those tests all the time for everybody. That sounds quite intensive, but look at the current pandemic that we have, unfortunately. There are now technicians and researchers around the world who are running round the clock to run tests on potentially nearly every single person of that population, albeit for a particular purpose, to look at coronavirus in that setting. But it shows that we may have some level of capacity to have precision medicine in a wider remit, not just for actual private healthcare. Okay, so this form of treatment sounds really cool. It's going to minimize the amount of medication we need. It's going to streamline processes, but it costs too much and it's nearly impossible to implement large scale. The question is it actually? I want to talk about the pro argument for why it could be possible. So could precise medicine actually be more cost effective long term by actually minimizing those hospital admissions, minimizing all of those prescriptions that were not really optimized, and all of those drugs that were taken in excess that weren't really suited to that patient? Let me know your comments in the comment section below, because I have a really big urge towards why there should be more of a common mainstream practice, and there are some serious arguments for as to why it should be, but I want to hear your thoughts about that particular part of today's episode, and not just if this suits me or not, but you're welcome to let me know. Gotta try different things, right? Now, to summarize, to make sure I'm not lost you, because I know today is a bit more of an abstract topic. Before, there used to be the notion of classical medicine, so a one drug fits all approach for any condition or disease. And we have the opposite end, which is precision medicine, where we really tailor the treatment towards that individual patient to try and minimize that trial and error approach of trying a drug, you got a side effect, okay, try another one, try another one, try another one. And we currently have this in-between form, which is known as stratified medicine, where we have an element of both, where we do look at optimized types, but we do still have that trial and error purpose. And the thing is, we still kind of need that, because sometimes the disease starts to get more severe over time, and we learn actually more by trialing different things. However, what if you knew all of that towards the start, or at least most of it towards the start? So running all of those tests, really understanding the patient straight, running different types from different angles, and really understanding, okay, this is the unique profile of this patient. This is what is most likely going to work compared to that. That is a understanding of precision medicine. So then, could it actually work in the near future? What is the future insight of precision medicine? As a researcher, things are constantly getting faster to do and cheaper to do. For example, sequencing an entire DNA, so a genomic information of a patient, is a lot cheaper now than it was 50 years ago. So as things start to get more automated, more streamlined, more effective, and things start to get cheaper, the notion of precision medicine for a majority of people starts to become more and more possible. And I do believe that as things evolve, we should, us ourselves, try and advocate that we require more testing early on and actually ask for it. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, and you can send this in the comment section below, that if you wanted in the UK, for example, I can't speak for everybody else, but in the UK, if I wanted to run some tests just to see how I am, that would be quite difficult to do. I would have to have something that's wrong with me to justify that test. And I feel that doesn't make sense. And whichever country you're watching from, does that occur in your country, or do you have a different approach? Because the last question I wanted to ask is, do you feel that us as humans around the world should have more routine testing early on in our age and more consistently? Because I do talk about prevention in terms of minimizing medications where possible, but we should also try and increase the rate at which we diagnose a condition a lot early on. If we have more routine testing for other conditions early on, and generic when we're in our teenage years, when we're certain younger adults, to see if we can identify something early on, not just wait until we're 40 or 50 or 60 and waiting for screening then. You know, that's what I mean by precision medicine. It's not just about looking at the individual as a whole, it's trying to gather as much information as you can about a patient as early as you can. What do you think about that? So guys, I know today was a bit more of an abstract topic, but I hope you did find it useful, because it's something I'm very passionate about. Because I genuinely do believe that we shouldn't have to just feel sick or feel ill for us to get a better treatment. You know, and it's something I don't really particularly like. I want to try my best to try and increase that. Whether it's through prevention, whether it's through understanding more about some knowledge so we can minimize us getting that disease, or raising awareness about how we can run some tests ourselves, you know, checking our blood pressure, checking our glucose, you know, understanding what's actually wrong with our body before we actually even need to go to the GP. We need healthcare professionals, they are the experts. But there's a lot that we can do initially to try and help the cause. So I just want to take this moment to say a big thank you to everybody who's been watching this series so far. And we've got another 6 episodes to go. But recently, as you might have seen on Instagram or my LinkedIn profile, the channel reached 1,000 views. And I mentioned that it's not the size of the achievement or how big it is, but actually what it means to you. And having 1,000 views on a channel, on a YouTube channel, for me is incredible. I never thought it was possible. And to many others, it might have taken them half a video to reach that. For me, it's taken many videos, even though I've just started. I want to say a big thank you to those who've been watching the series so far. If you benefited, if you just enjoyed it, me, you know, walking around the park and sharing some information, or if you actually, I know they fell over there, if you actually found some genuine pieces of information really useful, do let me know in the comment section below, because I would love to understand what it is that I'm doing right, but also what is it I'm doing wrong, what haven't you liked as well. And even though we haven't finished the series so far, I still think now is a good time, because we reached those 1,000 views. And I hope to reach many more, so I can share as much information as I can in a really nice and enjoyable way, so you guys can benefit. Prevent the preventable.